Welcome back to my channel, everybody. So today's video is going to be another story time video, and I will tell you why real quick. A few disclaimers first. So I think I got lipstick. Anyway, you guys have been asking why I've been wearing my hair like this in each video, and I am going to say I pre-film some of my videos, so you might see like my makeup the same and my hair the same, but I'll be wearing a different shirt. Now today's video isn't pre-filmed. You guys have requested this story time so much to the point where there were only like 5 comments out of like the 300 that were different from you guys saying, I want to hear the story time, I want to hear the story time. In the beginning of my previous story time video, I explained how I spent 45 minutes before that story time making the story time I'm about to tell you about how the time that I died from psychedelic drugs. Like, I literally died, and I'll get into it. So that's why there's going to be 2 story times in a row. But this video isn't pre-filmed. This video comes out a few hours after I film it. So like I said, I got a new laptop, and there's a cool tool on the internet, on YouTube, called scheduled filming, which I thought that was so fucking cool. Like, I can, I'm sorry about my language, I'm so sorry. You guys have been commenting on like me calming down my language, and I'm working on it. So let's just get right in. And one more thing, 2 more things. The lipstick that I'm wearing, I actually didn't mean to have it on. It is Divine Wine by Maybelline, Color Sensational. I think I like threw it in my cart and accidentally left the store with it, but I never took it back. I didn't mean to steal it, but that's okay. And the last disclaimer, the place that I am about to tell you guys about is my second home. This place, besides my children are my home, but this place is my favorite place in the world. And just because the first time I went there it was a horrible experience towards the end doesn't make the people there bad, or the owner. His name is Evan. He's a great person. I know him personally. He lets me get in for, free sometimes. Evan, if you're watching this, I love you. Thank you for last season. And he's amazing. He works so hard for this place, and my experience has nothing to do with him or his park. It had to do with the people that were there, and that was it. So, because there's hundreds, you'll meet people everywhere. So let's get into the story. I'm trying to make this as ASMR as possible, because, and I'll try my best to watch my language. Like, you guys have been going nuts over that. Like, I'm sorry I say fuck once in a while. Like, I can't help it. So when I was 16 years old, 15 going on 16, like, I was hanging out with a lot of people that weren't my age, because in school I was bullied, like, absolutely horribly. Like, it was terrible. It was to the point that, I had one friend, and her and I pretty much stopped being friends, which caused me to drop out later on in life. I do have my GED. So when I was going on to 16, I started, hanging out with different people. I met a guy on MySpace, because that was all their age back then. His name was Joe. I'm sure he doesn't mind his name being said in the video, because you guys won't know who he is anyway. So Joey and I started dating. He was a little bit older than me. He was like, I think like 18 or 19, and I was like 16, but that's okay. It's my fault. So Joe loved to smoke weed, man. Like, he was obsessed with smoking weed. So, I smoked it a few times, but this was after this festival. So he was like the hippie type. He listened to like Mars Volta, Flaming Lips, and everything, and I just found his scene and his friends and everything he did so cool. Like, he always talked about doing psychedelics and how I need to try acid and how I need to try mushrooms, and like, it was fine. And I never did any of this. I was 16, just coming into this, and what's really funny about this is I was just fucking thrown into this scene. Like, you'll hear in a minute. So because I thought it was so cool, I started looking up online how to be a hippie. Like, I spelled it Hippy. Like, I wanted to be like everyone else, and Joey didn't know this. But I read on this site on how to be a hippie, it's like, go to festivals. And I was like, what's a festival? So I looked up festivals in PA, and Nelson's Ledges Quarry Park is in Ohio. But I found on this website it's called Nelson's Ledges Quarry Park. and it was like festivals. It's like, come party, come be a hippie, come be yourself, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't saying that, but it was pretty much like they showed photos of like these, like they have photos on their site. Like, I'll put the site below because it really is a perfect, amazing place. It's a dream. So anyway, I found this place and there was a festival coming up in like a week and a half, and I was like, oh my god, Joey, we gotta go. And like, so I called him up and he came over and he was like, yeah, he's like, this sounds great. He's like, you can, you know, I've been to festivals before, like this place sounds great. It was his first time too. So what's another funny thing is I was typing on Google like hippie people or like hippie outfits, and this girl came up on the top. Her name was Liza, and the reason I'm saying her name without her permission is because she's a good person. She has a good heart, but what she did was not okay, and I don't really care, you know what I mean, about her or the things she's done, and you'll see why. But overall she has a good heart. She was just in a bad place too, and I'm sure she doesn't care of her name. You will never find out her last name. Like, anyway, so I found this girl on MySpace, on Google actually, the top thing, and I was like, oh my god, a hippie girl, I'm gonna add her. And it turned out she was going, I messaged her, I was like, hi, I want to be a hippie, blah blah blah, and it turns out she was like going to the same festival this upcoming week. And she's like imagine that, like you type in like this girl, like hippie clothes, and this girl pops up and you add her and she's like, oh, you want to meet up, like really, like, and she was a lot older. She had to be like 25 and I was only 16. So she was like, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna meet up at this festival, you're gonna camp with us, we're gonna show you the ropes, my boyfriend and I, which his name was Brandon. Terrible person. And so I ditched school. Like, I lied to my mom and I told her that, like, my mom just divorced my dad at the time, and like we were going through a lot. Like, we moved like immediately, like, you know, things were chaotic, so my mom didn't really have a lot of time to take care of me. She spoiled the hell out of me, like $20 a day allowance, like she took really good care of me. So I mean, even though her and I have our problems, like, she took great care of me. So I lied to her and told her that I was going to my ex best friend's house for the weekend. And it turns out, you know, like, I ditched school for the whole week. Like, she didn't know I was even home pretty much. Like, well, not the whole week. Like, I left on Friday morning. So she didn't know that I didn't go to school. Like, I told her I was getting off the bus and going to my best friend's house. So fast forward, we're driving all the way out. Now, Nelson's Ledges Quarry Park, I live in Pennsylvania, and Nelson's Ledges is in Ohio. I'm trying to think of the town. It's not Nelson's, but it's something with a G. I don't know. So anyway, Joey and I pack our shit. You know, I have like all Hollister clothes, okay? At the time, I have like a stack of books that look like they're gonna fall. Anyway, so we drive all the way out. Like, the whole time we're listening to Flaming Lips. Like, Joey's like, I hope there's acid here, I hope there's mushrooms here, like, I want you to try it. And I was like, okay, yeah, like, you know, I'm gonna be a hippie, I'm gonna be part of this. Like, hippies are so nice, they're gonna accept me, they're gonna want me. Wrong. So we get to the we get to the quarry, and you have to be 18. Like, they will not let you in. Now, the festival I went to, I remember it was Lazy Daisy. Lazy, or I'm sorry, Mayflowers Fest, because I've been to so many. Like, it was my first festival's name ever was Mayflowers Fest at Nelson's Ledges Quarry Park. It was in like April or May. So we get to the park, and I got to get to the point of the story because, like, it's already 9 minutes and there's a lot to cover. So we get to the park, we get to the gate, they're like, let me see your ID. And I'm like, I don't have it. I called beforehand. You guys said you'd let me in. And they were like, no. They're like, you look like you're like 10. Like, you're not getting in here. So it turns out Liza and Brandon were in the front of the quarry. And they were like, oh my God, it's you. Like, let them in. They're fine. They're fine. They're with us. And they're like, okay. So they let us in. We paid our, fee. So they take us to their campsite. Now, let me just give you a whole runaround of the outline of the quarry. So they call it the beach. Okay, so how do I explain this? The woods surround the quarry, okay? It's nothing but woods, and then behind it's like an actual like state park. Like, it's beautiful, it's really known. and then there's the festival ground. So think of a big circle, okay? And then surrounding the circle is the woods. Then in the center of the circle is the quarry, and then okay, no wait, cut the circle in half. The first half is the water, and then the front half is like the stage, the vendors, and then surrounding everything is the woods, and that's where you camp, okay? So Liza and Brandon take us back to a campsite, and they're like, okay, we set up, everything's fine, and that's whenever everything started. It was getting late. They're like, okay, we're gonna show you around. So they took us around the quarry, took us past the vendors. The water's beautiful, and the sand in the front of the quarry, they call it the beach. So if I say the beach, remember that it's just the front of the quarry. And so where the stages are, you're looking right out at the quarry. The stages are on the side, the quarry's in the front, blah, blah, blah. Try to pay attention. So as nightfall came around, everybody, starts drinking, relaxing. The people there are fucking amazing. They're so nice. I mean, to an extent, but you have to remember at a lot of festivals, and I'm not saying everybody, but most of these people come to get fucked up and just have fun and be themselves and just let go for a weekend. That's all a festival is, really. I mean, there is love, there are sober people, there are people that come there for the music, but overall, it really is just to get fucked up and listen to music. Now, like I said, nightfall came around, and this is the first night. You stay for the whole weekend. And this shit gets bad after, in a couple minutes. So we go to the front of the stage, and the music starts, and Liza pulls out a little baggie, and she's like, I know you're young, but, you have to love your first festival. Now, where I was coming from my Hollister clothes is I brought all Hollister, and, Liza, when I got there, was like, you can't wear this shit. So she gave me, a hippie skirt. You can't wear this shit. You're trying to fit, anyway, I wanted to be a hippie, you know what I mean. So she dressed me up in a pretty little hippie skirt and a cute crop top, whatever. I had curly hair. I didn't wear glasses at the time. I was like, I wish I could put a picture in here, but like I said, my editing's all fucked up, but maybe I'll link you guys to the picture. So she hands me this little baggie, and in the baggie is a pill, and I don't know what that is. And she's like, just take it. It's called ecstasy. You feel good. Now, little disclaimer again, I totally promote the use of MDA. I do not promote the use of ecstasy. Ecstasy is MDMA with methamphetamine, actual drugs. MDA is currently being used in studies right now for depression. Now, I'm not saying little fucking 16-year-old kids go pop a bunch of Molly. No. No. I'm saying, if you ever have the chance to do real Molly, you have a person you trust that you're getting it from, safe group of friends, and a designated driver. By all means, it's a beautiful experience. Try it. But Liza gave me ecstasy. Now, I took one pill, and the rest of the night was a blur. We danced, we had fun, I felt beautiful. I met amazing people. It was excellent, you guys. It was so much fucking fun. I loved it. But as the night went on, since there was methamphetamine in the pill, it kept me up all night. So I'm grinding my teeth. When you do, think speed and stuff, you go, you're grinding your teeth the whole time. So, I'm grinding, I'm having fun, everybody's just so loving, they really are, but a lot of them are fucked up. So, the music was beautiful. I remember it was, Disco Biscuit. I can't even think of, my favorite band. It was Disco something. So anyway, that was the first time I ever heard of this band. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Fast forward through the night. It's midnight. Now, after the music stops at the festival at Nelson's Ledges, you party all night. All the campsites are basically a party for each. You can go to any campsite you want, pretty much. Everybody's so welcoming. I remember, walking back to the campsite with Liza and Brandon and Joey, and it was so much fun, and, we stayed up all night, literally. I remember at, 4 a.m., I tried to get, an hour of sleep, and this is where stuff kind of gets bad. I couldn't get any sleep. I was high off of weed. We smoked a lot of weed. I was, now remember, you guys, I'm 16 years old. I shouldn't have done this, and I know it was my decision, but, they knew that I was that young. They shouldn't have offered all this stuff to me, But anyway, I was drinking, I was on ecstasy, I was, smoking a lot of weed. I was really fucked up, and you'd think that I'd be able to fall asleep, but no. This is where it all begins. So the next morning, like, I got no sleep, so I'm like kind of zoning out at this point. It's like noon, okay? And like, this is where it all gets so bad. So we go up, like Brandon and Liza wake up, or they've been up all night too, and they're smoking their weed, and like, they're giving it to me. They're like, here, this will try to make you tired, whatever. So this is where everybody kind of splits up, and like Liza and Joey stayed at the campsite, and Brandon, Liza's boyfriend, was like, hey, do you want to walk down and get some pancakes with me? And I was like, sure. So we walk down, we get some pancakes, we're sitting at the thing, we're eating, and Brandon pulls out another baggie. Well, he pulls out 3 baggies. Like, he's blatantly just showing all these drugs. First is a baggie full of mushrooms. He's like, we're going to be taking these later. He's like, I'd really like it if you would try these with me. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, it'll wake you up, it'll make you feel better, whatever. Then he pulls out a bag, or a little foil square, like, wrapped in foil. And I've never seen LSD before. And as you guys know, I have the chemical formula of LSD tattooed on my arm, and mushrooms, and Cracker Jack. And if you guys aren't aware, the Cracker Jack, back in the 70s, they used to slip tabs of acid and the surprise inside and give them to like kids and shit, which is fucked up. But anyway, so I'll explain later about that, or in another video. So we're sitting there, and he pulls out all this shit, and he's like, here's one of these. And he pulls out another e-pill, but instead of the one that I had yesterday, it was a different one. And I was like, okay, what's the difference? He's like, it'll wake you up. It's not, he's like, just take it. So he's like, it's not MDMA, it's MDHA. And I was like, what does that mean? So I took it. And like, I remember like this girl sitting next to him was like, why are you giving her that so early? Like, it's so early for that. And like, he was like, shut up, she's my girl. And I was like, I'm not your girl, but you know what I mean. He's like, she's under my wing, I'm taking care of her. So it's like fucking 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'm taking ecstasy again, okay? My body is still processing from the night before, and not to mention, I'm 16. So fast forward, I don't really remember a lot. Like, we went back to the campsite, and that's whenever Brandon and Liza took the shrooms back out, and they started making tea. And like, they were like, okay, we're only gonna give you a little bit, but whatever. And I remember Liza asking him, like, and Joey was doing all this too, like, he was with me, but he's a lot older, he could handle himself. Now, whenever, I just want to say this, whenever you take pills and drugs before, like, or if you take drugs at the same time, like, it's called candy flipping, okay? So it's basically expecting like the same tripping result but different feelings. Like, it gives you a really crazy body high. I've done it, you know what I mean? It's fun if you know what you're doing and how much you're doing, but it's really fucking stupid. Don't do it. Just don't. So they're crushing up the mushrooms, and I'm like, I just took an e-pill. And Liza, like, eyes like went from like this to this, and she's like, Brandon, you gave her an e-pill? Like, are you fucking crazy? And he's like, she can handle it, man, it's her first festival, dude. And then again, she was like, okay, whatever. She's like, Sarah, you gotta drink water. Make sure you are drinking your water no matter what, because ecstasy really dries out your brain. Like, if you don't drink water, you can potentially die from fucking your brain frying itself. So he crushes up the tea, he gives me the drink, and I've never done ecstasy. I've never done mushrooms, okay? I've never done, LSD or any of the shit. So, like, I take, the tea or whatever, we drink the tea, everybody's drinking it, and like, it took 5 minutes before this shit like hit me. And I remember Liza asking Brandon, where did you get these shrooms? And he's like, oh, I got them off this guy. Like, this guy traded me like meth for these. Meth. Okay, really? So I didn't really know about all this stuff, like, you know what I mean? So anyway, fast forward, it took 5 minutes before like shit just got real. It started getting scary. My stomach started hurting. Now, if you've never done shrooms and it's your first time, you do get a little stomach ache, but I promise it goes away. Like, I'll have to do this in another video, but this isn't supposed to be like this, you know what I mean? Like, shrooms are natural. Like, if you do a small amount, like, you're not gonna get sick. I don't know how much he put in my tea. I don't know where he got these from. I was stupid and young and wanted to be like everybody else. This is my fault. I'm the one who decided to take them. I'm not blaming them for giving them to me. I'm just saying that they should have really thought about my age. But I've always presented myself as older. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they said they never even knew I was 16 in the end. So, fucking, I'm freaking out. Like, my stomach's starting to hurt. Shit's getting super more bright. I'm on ecstasy from the night before. I'm still drunk. I'm rolling. That's what they call, like, doing ecstasy. They call it rolling. I'm rolling on the new pill that, and it turned out that new pill had heroin in it. That's why he said it would relax me instead of make me all hyped up. The mushrooms started kicking in and I got sick. Like, it was starting to get late. Like, they took us down to the beach. Before we went to the beach, now mind you, it's like 2:30 now, the mushrooms are all kicked in. I'm throwing up everywhere, okay? Like, I was so sick. Like, I remember, like, throwing up, and as I got up, like, the trees were all, everything was really fucked up. Like, I don't remember a lot of it. I remember them bringing me down to the beach, and when we got to the beach, before, everybody was like, oh, like I remember changing into my bikini in the tent and coming out, and I was so fucked up, and I had like this Hollister strap bikini. Like, it was like I was barely wearing anything, and like I remember I was so fucked up that like my boobs were pretty much hanging out. Like, I was so young, like really fucked up, man. And like Brandon was like, oh, like when I came out of the tent, I remember Liza like slapping him, like, don't stare at her, she's underage, and like crazy shit. So we go down to the beach, and I remember we got to the beach, and like everybody was getting ready to swim, and I was like, I can't swim. I was like, I'm all fucked up, like, please don't make me swim. And they're like dragging me in the fucking water, dude. And before we get in the water, like, this is where shit like gets bad. Like, they start, like, these people weren't the people I thought they were. Like, Liza and Brandon were like, open your mouth, this will make you feel better. And I'm like, I don't want to take any more drugs, you guys. Like, I'm fine, I'm okay now. And like, they're like, no, no. And like, they shoved, like, they went like this, they went like, like, and I was like, pfft. But like, it's, I guess it's stuck on my like cheek or something, because I definitely ingested it. Like, they put 2 tabs of LSD in my mouth, okay? Like, really? Like, that's so fucked up, dude. Like, I said no, and like they're shoving it in my mouth, and I'm just like, ah. So I get in the water, and I am so fucked up at this point. Like, I can't swim. Like, I was, like, I'm a great swimmer. I really am. I'm like flailing my arms like a fucking bird. Like, like it really is kind of funny, but if you think about it, like, it's a really fucked up thing. So I'm like flailing my arms like, ah! And they had to drag me out of the water. And like, I remember them dragging me on the beach, and they're like, are you okay? Like, and I was like, no. And this is whenever everything started getting bad. Like, I guess we were swimming, and I guess we were down there for like 3 or 4 hours, because it was getting dark at this point. Well, it was like an hour before, and this is where I am dying. So Liza got sick from the mushrooms too. And like, she went up, she's like, let's go up to the camp and take a nap. But this is before, or this is after this happened. So what I'm about to say. So I'm laying there on the sand, like just staring up. And I remember when I went to get up, like, because everybody wanted to go to camp, like, I stood up, and like, how do I explain? Like, my whole body was empty. My heart wasn't beating. Like, I wasn't tripping. Like, I remember collapsing again, like, and I collapsed, and I went like, and I couldn't breathe, and I was like, help. I was like, somebody please help me. Like, I started screaming, like, help me, please. And like, Brandon comes over, and he's like, shut up. And this is where everything just went bad. Like, it really went bad. Like, he's like, shut the fuck up. He's like, don't let any, he's like, you bring attention over here. He's like, you're gonna get us all caught. You're gonna get the drugs taken away. You're gonna ruin our fucking good time. He's like, you're just having a bad trip. And I'm like, please help me. I'm like, no, please, I need to go to the hospital. And I remember back then, like, I used to be able to just, like, after that, you know, like, eat drugs and like, not have any anxiety. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I used to smoke weed. Like, I was fine, you know what I mean? But like, no, like I knew my body. Like, this is where I started really like knowing something was wrong. And Liza's like, maybe she does need help, dude. Maybe we should just call like security over to take her to the hospital or something. Like, she's not looking good. Like, they said my skin was like bright. I mean, I'm pale already underneath the self tanner. Like, I'm a glow stick in a bikini. They call me like glow stick. Like, no, like they were like, something's wrong with her. Like, we need to get her help. And Brandon's like, he like whispered something in her ear, like, we can't fucking get caught with all this. Like, she's with us. She's underage. We're gonna get in trouble. And she's like, oh shit, you're right. So he's like, take her back to camp and lay her down and just watch her for a minute and let's go. So as they're dragging me up to camp, like as you're walking, you can never walk to your destination without stopping and talking to a million people. And that's what I really enjoyed about that place. So no, like hundreds of people were, it felt like it, were stopping and talking to us, and I'm like drooling, like I'm a mess at this point. Like I'm crying. I'm like, somebody help me. And I remember this one guy who came up to me, and he was horrible, man. Like he thought, I guess maybe he thought that I was fucking with him. Like, he's like, how's your first festival? And I'm like, I'm dying. I'm like, please help me, I'm dying, please. Like, and he's like, yeah, you are, man, like you're dying. And he's like shaking my head, and I'm like, it was horrible. So this isn't even the worst part. Like, she takes me to camp and throws me in the tent, and this is like sad to tell and embarrassing. Like, and this is when I was 16, man. So I'm in there, and like I'm like, you know, I can't get up or anything, and I'm like, help me, help me. Like, you know, I feel like I'm screaming, and people keep coming in the tent and shaking me, and they're like, shut the fuck up. So they drop me and leave me in their tent. Now, oh yeah, I didn't even tell you guys, there's a fucking baby raccoon that they've been carrying around this entire festival. She's like, here, she lets the cage open, this raccoon fucking comes up, and I felt like this raccoon's amazing. It was a baby raccoon that they like stole from its mother or something, and like they had it with me. Like, they're like, here, her name was Indica, for like low grade weed, and like she gave me the raccoon. She's like, here, she'll keep you company. And I'm like dying. Like, I needed medical attention. I had no water. I had nothing. Now here's where everything gets fucked up. When it rains at the ledges, it pours, okay? Like, I'm being serious. Like, the weather there, like, is like crazy. That's why I say when you go in there, it's like entering a fucking dream. Like, the clouds are brighter. You don't even have to be on drugs to go there. Like, this place is like, people have said, like, they think that this place is like on a fucking like psychic energy spot, because everything is just different when you go there, with or without the people. So I'm in the tent, I'm screaming help. My boyfriend like was with me the whole time, but I guess he got lost whenever they took me back up to camp and dropped me in the tent. Like, he left me there. He didn't know I was there the rest of the festival, like the rest of the night. Like, he had no idea. He tried to find me, and I could hear him, and like this is where I started getting more weak because I had no water. And like he's like walking around the tent screaming, Sarah, Sarah. And I'm in the tent, like literally like dying, man. Like, I'm telling you, I don't care what you, I don't care what they, I don't care what God, I don't care what I even say. I died. And here's where it comes in a minute. Joey was like, Sarah, Sarah. And I was like, it's like in one of those dreams where you're trying to scream when something's happening and you can't. And you're trying so hard to get this person's attention, and like you can't. And like I'm getting all emotional because this story does give me anxiety. And like I'm screaming like in my mouth. I'm like, and as I'm screaming Joey, like I start choking. Like I'm like, like I'm like, oh. Like no, but I start choking and I start throwing up, and like I start throwing up and throwing up and throwing up, and the throw up's like coming out of my mouth, and it's going and it's pulling. I can feel it like pulling down around my neck, and I can't move. Like, my body's like a brick. I'm like, help, help, like, and I was shaking. I don't know if I had a seizure. I don't think so, but like I was like jerking and I was throwing up, and I remember like a light like in front of me, like thing, like the sun was maybe over the tent, but it was nighttime at this point. Like the music was starting. I could hear the music down at the festival, and I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I started seeing a light, and I remember starting to choke on my throw up. Like, I was like, you know what I mean? And I couldn't lean over, so I tried to put my head to like I was laying flat, and my face was like this, throwing up. And I remember trying to lay my face to the left, but as I did that, I was laying in my own like vomit, and like it was terrible. It was, you know what I mean? And then that's when everything went white. The light that was above me, just everything turned white. Pure white. I don't care. I was dead. I don't care. I don't care what you said. I don't care what anybody says. I was dead. Not clinically dead, but me. I was dead. And everybody I've told this story to, like, is like, holy shit, that's crazy. But they were like, are you sure it wasn't the psychedelics, like, doing this to you? Yeah, the throw up. Yeah, me not being able to feel my heartbeat. Yeah. Yeah, not being able to move. You're damn right it was those psychedelics. They're crazy. No. So the light, it was bright, and the light kind of like, it was beautiful. Like, I was either asleep and just having a damn good dream, or no. Like, I wasn't breathing, you know? I wasn't. And like, and then all of a sudden, like, the light started fading and fading and fading out. And as it was fading, I felt myself like over my body. I was looking down at my body, man. And as I'm looking down at my body, Liza's shaking me. She's like, get up, oh my god, she's overdosing, somebody help. They're fucking calling. Brandon comes flying in, he like pushes her, like, she's fucking dying, man, she's dying, like, what do? We can't tell anybody. And like, Joey's nowhere to be found, like, and then they keep shaking me, and then finally they get a water bottle or something, and I'm watching all of this, and they like dump it on my body, and that's whenever I just went, like, I sucked back into my body, and I went like, I remember waking up, like, it was like it was a trip, like, yeah. Like, I wake up, I'm like and they're like, oh my god, they're like, she's okay, and they're like shaking me still, and they're like, holy shit. And then instead of saying like, are you okay, you know, they were like, you're okay, they looked down and they're like, you threw up on our mattress. You threw up on our mattress. And then they're like, we gotta clean it up. And they push me back down, and I'm like still sick. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know, I could barely breathe. I was like, like, I remember my breathing being so labored. And they ripped the blankets off because there was like, you know, blankets and clothes. I pissed myself. I'm ashamed to say that, but I pissed myself. Literally. I'm 16 years old on a bunch of drugs and pissed myself. Threw up, pissed myself, dehydrated, dead. I don't know how I lived. I don't know how I'm alive today. I don't. I thank God. I thank, you know, because I wouldn't have had my beautiful children. I wouldn't have them here with me now. Like, I pissed myself. And you know what they did? They drug me out and threw me on the floor and left me there. They deflated their mattress, took it out of the tent, and left me there. And here's where everything kind of gets like a little bit better, but not really. My friends, who ended up being lifelong friends, I'm still best friends. The one guy who was there, actually, who we hated each other, he actually turned out to be like, which, if you guys want to hear that story, like, it's a brilliant story how like my ex and I met, and how we're like, it's a crazy story, and like how we're best friends now. His name's Kevin. Kevin, if you're watching, I love you. Like, we love each other. We're best friends. Like, anyway. They all showed up, I guess, on the last night. It was their first festival too. Like, Joey was calling them like, Sarah's not here, Sarah's missing, you guys want to come party? Like, so they did. They drove all the way from where I live to here, which is 3 hours, or to the Ledges. And like, when they got there, I remember they're like, where's Sarah? And they found me before Joey did. Like, it was so late at night, and I remember them coming in, like, my friend Megan, and they're all fine with their names. Megan, Joey was coming in, they were all like, Sarah, what are you doing? I was like laying on the floor, and like, there were clothes everywhere, and they're like, oh my god, are you okay? And they're like trying to hand me water, and I couldn't talk. I was like, Kevin, I remember Kevin and my friend Megan sitting there, and I could talk like now, but I was like, I'm dying, I died, I'm dying. And you can ask them, man, they'll tell you how fucked up it was. Like, and they were scared. They were like, we need to get her help. And like Joey, my own ex, was like, no, she's fine now. Like, she threw up, she'll be fine. Like, give her water. And they were feeding me water, like just pouring it down my throat. Like, it was horrible. So eventually they left. They're like, do you need somebody to stay with you? Are you okay? And I was like, I'm dying. Like, that's all apparently I said for the whole night. So I laid back, I remember, and like that raccoon was with me, and it cuddled with me, and it was my only company the whole night. I was left alone. I was sick. I literally don't know how I was alive. Like, I couldn't stand up to go to the bathroom, so I pissed myself again. I pissed all over the tarp. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. Oh, and remember when I said, like, it rains, it pours? Like, the whole time it was pouring down rain. So the tent flooded, and I'm laying there mixed with piss, throw up, fucking water, smelly hippie clothes. And they just left me there. Oh, and then the next day, they left me in that tent all night, and Joey finally crawled in at, like, literally, like, 5:30 a.m. He heard my voice moaning, because I guess I was like, help, help. I was still all fucked up. And he was like, oh my god, Sarah, oh my god. He's like, I've been looking for you, like, the whole time. He's like, how are you? I'm like, please take me to the hospital, please, like, please. He wouldn't. He was like, no. He's like, we're leaving in a couple hours, you'll be fine, we can stop on the way home, not now. I was like, Joey, I was like, my fucking body, like, I was like, I'm not okay. He's like, I know, but you gotta wait. He's like, the festival's almost over. So it's Sunday morning, and they all come back in the tent, and they're like, and I guess I did get some sleep finally, because I remember waking up to them freaking out. They're like, get out, get the fuck out now. And like, Joey had to help me out, and Liza had to carry me out, and they set me in a chair next to the campfire outside, and it was soaked from raining. I was covered in piss. I hadn't changed. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't drank anything. I was very ill. I was very fucking ill. And the rest of the morning, Joey unpacked, and Brandon and Liza were fighting so bad because they were like, we're never inviting a 16-year-old here again. She ruined our time. She ruined our tent. The raccoon didn't eat. The raccoon chewed up our underwear. Like, shit like that. Really? Like, really? I know I shouldn't have been there. I know I shouldn't have been there in the first place. But whenever you see that somebody's like literally fucking foaming at the mouth, throwing up, pissing themselves, don't you think that you should fucking get them some help? I would, without hesitation. I don't care if that person, if I was like in the White House and I wasn't supposed to be there with like a little 15-year-old and they were dying of like drug overdose right there on the floor, I would happily fucking do that. Help. So that was really it. I mean, we packed up, we said our goodbyes the whole way home. I was sick. Joey never took me to the fucking hospital. I went home. Oh, and then I found out later on that those mushrooms that he got that off of that guy for meth turned out to be these black and amanita mushrooms, which are deadly. Fucking deadly mushrooms. I ate. No wonder. Like, no wonder I got so fucking sick. Deadly. They're amanitas. Look them up. They're a very deadly mushroom. Like, he gave them to us, and that's what we ate. So that's pretty much the story time of how I died. Now, like I said, I ended up going back like about a month later, and things were awesome, and it was nothing like this time. I learned my lesson not to take drugs, like, without, knowing who they come from or whatever. I never really candy flipped again. Like, I stopped dating Joey, thank you. But actually, if you check out my vlog from last year, I did end up going back with him, like, last year, because him and I ended up being friends, and, like, he's changed. He ended up getting into drugs real bad. He changed. I changed. Like, we had a great time, and I've never had a bad experience there since. And like I said, I know the owner, Evan, from Nelson's. Like, I ended up meeting the owner, and he's amazing. He helped me get in all through last season for free, and he's just an amazing person, and it has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with that place. Like, you just really need to be careful with who you meet at festivals, and make sure they are your friends, and make sure you have water around if you choose to do drugs, and make sure you are not 16 because it is not worth it. It is not fun. So that is my story time video about how I died on psychedelics. Like I said, I'm going to do another video about psychedelics and their benefits, because if you really know what you're taking and how much you're taking, and you have a designated driver and you have your friends and this and that, I promise you it is worth it and it is very beneficial. But that's a whole nother story. I'm not promoting drugs. Please don't think that. And that's it. So I love you guys so much. I am gonna go film another video right now for tomorrow, but it's not where you can see my face. It's a puzzle video. So alright, you guys, I love you so much. Thank you for listening, and bye.